In the dazzling yet cold world of Moscow's Bolshoi Ballet, Dominika Igorova reigns as the principal dancer, admired, revered, and envied. Her mother is ill and dependent on her care, and the government provides housing and medical care in return for Dominika's performances. But one tragic fall on stage ends her career in a heartbeat, leaving her broken, both physically and financially. When her influential uncle, Ivan, a high-ranking officer in Russian intelligence, offers her a new opportunity, she is left with little choice. The state needs something in return for all the help they've provided, and Dominika agrees, desperate to continue supporting her mother. Ivan sends her to a secret rendezvous where she's instructed to seduce a corrupt Russian official. But things go sideways when that official is killed in front of her. She is now a witness, a liability. Rather than eliminate her, the state gives her a chilling ultimatum: join the Sparrow School or die. Dominika is sent to a brutal training facility where she undergoes psychological conditioning and manipulation. The school strips her of identity, shame, and emotion. She is taught the art of seduction, interrogation, and psychological warfare. The aim? To become a sparrow, a weapon of the state. But Dominika isn't like the others. She refuses to surrender her sense of self. She survives the cruel tests and humiliations through grit and intelligence, silently plotting her own path forward. After her graduation, Dominika is sent to Budapest, Hungary. Her assignment? Get close to CIA operative Nate Nash, who recently had a failed meetup with a mole within Russian intelligence. Ivan believes Nash can lead them to the mole, and Dominika is the bait. Dominika approaches Nate in public, under surveillance from both sides. He sees through her cover instantly, but is intrigued by her directness. She doesn't pretend to be innocent. Instead, she embraces her identity as a spy, which only deepens Nate's curiosity. As the two begin to circle each other, a strange bond forms. Dominika isn't like other operatives Nate has encountered. She has a fierce independence and a buried vulnerability. She subtly hints that she wants out of the game, while feeding small bits of intel. Meanwhile, the CIA is wary of Dominika. They suspect a double cross. But Nate believes she's genuine and begins protecting her. They meet in secret, navigating deadly lines between trust and betrayal. Back in Russia, Ivan grows more suspicious. Dominika's reports don't align. He sends other agents to follow her, threatening her with exposure and death. She's caught between two ruthless powers and has to play each side to survive. As her relationship with Nate deepens, so does the danger. Dominika feeds him valuable intel, but also manipulates Russian intelligence to cover her tracks. She's walking a tightrope, pretending to be loyal to both while planning her own escape. General Korchnoi, a high-level Russian official, reaches out to Dominika. He reveals that he is the CIA's mole. He believes Dominika has what it takes to carry on his legacy, and offers her to help him defect. But Dominika has a different idea. Instead of running, she sacrifices Korchnoi to the Russians, framing him as the mole. It's a calculated move. Korchnoi is executed, and Dominika is celebrated as a hero. Now trusted more than ever, Dominika uses her new influence to protect Nate and signal her loyalty to him in secret. She's earned a place at the highest levels of Russian power, and no one suspects her true allegiance. Dominika continues feeding intel to the CIA while rising in the Russian ranks, but the pressure is unbearable. She knows it can't last forever. Any wrong move could cost her life and the lives of those she cares about. After Dominika returns from her first field assignment with Ustinov dead, she's lauded by her superiors for how she handled it, even though the brutal nature of the mission deeply unsettles her. She's sent back to Moscow, where she receives her next assignment: seduce and extract information from Nate Nash, the CIA operative she previously encountered. The agency suspects that Nate is running a high-level Russian mole, and Dominica's job is to uncover who it is. At first, Dominica attempts to use her Sparrow training, sexuality, psychological manipulation, to gain Nash's trust. But things don't go according to plan. Nash isn't a predictable mark. He's smart, cautious, and obviously not falling for the usual tricks. What's more unexpected is that Dominica begins to feel something unusual: trust, even attraction. For perhaps the first time in her career, there's a hint of something real amidst the deception. Nash, on the other hand, is skeptical of Dominica, but begins to notice that she seems different from other Russian operatives. When she starts leaking small pieces of non-critical information to him, almost as a sign of good faith, he begins to believe that she might be considering defection. Meanwhile, back in Moscow, her uncle Ivan Egorov and the Russian intelligence top brass start growing suspicious of her loyalties. She's passing lie detector tests, but her behavior is unpredictable. Ivan, ever manipulative, reminds her that she owes everything to him, that if not for him, she'd be nothing. But Dominica is beginning to chafe under that control. She finds a moment alone and finally confesses to Nate that she doesn't want to be a puppet anymore, that she's done with being used by the state, by her uncle, by everyone. Nash realizes the potential of this. If Dominica truly wants out, she could be one of the most valuable assets the CIA has ever turned. But it's not so simple. The Russians are watching, constantly. Dominica is subjected to another brutal test of loyalty when she's beaten nearly to death during an interrogation designed to pressure her into revealing the mole. She keeps her cover intact, but barely. Nash and his CIA team decide they need to move quickly. They start working out a plan to extract Dominica, but the timing has to be perfect. She's being shuffled between assignments, and any misstep could lead to her being executed as a traitor. At the same time, Dominica devises her own strategy. If she can unmask the mole the CIA is protecting, she might be able to flip the narrative and gain even more leverage. She doesn't just want to escape, she wants to win. Dominica begins feeding information back to the Russians, all while secretly passing messages to Nate. Each meeting is dangerous. They have to use dead drops, coded language, and face intense surveillance. Still, the connection between them grows. Eventually, the Russians uncover that there's a mole high up in their ranks, but they can't pin down who it is. The Americans, however, are under pressure. Someone in Langley thinks Nate is too close to his asset. They consider pulling him off the mission. Dominica meets with General Korchnoi, a high-ranking Russian official who's long suspected of leaking information to the West. He confesses to her privately. He's the mole. But he's old and tired and ready to be done. He sees Dominica as the next generation, someone who could truly play both sides. So Dominica makes a move that shocks everyone. She betrays Korchnoi, turning him over to the Russians. He's executed. Her superiors see her as a hero. She's given a medal, promoted. But it was all calculated. In doing this, Dominica positions herself as a loyal Russian hero while still maintaining contact with Nate. Then, without warning, she vanishes. No one, not the CIA, not the SVR, knows where she's gone, until she reappears weeks later, standing in a Grand Kremlin office, being honored by the Russian president himself. And as the camera pans away, Dominica sits quietly, the gears in her mind always turning. She has outplayed them all.